face. I'm Dr. Kim Lannon. Did you see what I was doing?
I saw it out of the side of my eye. You're vibing?
Yeah, I was vibing with my music.
It's fine. It's good.
I was doing the thing because I'm freezing in here, so I'm moving because I'm cold. I just realized that all my computer equipment that I need to use to like look at comments and stuff is way away from me this morning. Did you notice that? Like I have.
Oh yeah, I pushed it. I'm sorry.
Oh, you did? Oh, I thought I was gonna blame the.
I didn't know if you used it.
The loud guy.
I put your phone.
I know. I saw that you did that. Thank you so much. Good morning.
That sounded sarcastic.
No, oh my God.
All right.
I can make it sarcastic.
I know.
I'm very good at that.
Yep.
I just said good morning to you 5 times.
Good morning.
God, it's a beautiful day out.
Yeah.
2 in a row. Well, it's
Could
not
use some sun.
Well, I know, but still, it's warm.
Gorgeous.
And then I come in here and I'm freezing like an icebox.
Yeah. Except every room in this building is warm. There's about a 40-degree temperature difference.
I know. The bathroom.
Yeah.
We should do the show in the bathroom because it's warmer.
No, it's too hot in there, like a sauna.
I know, but it's better than this room. My studio currently is like a friggin' icebox.
For those who don't know, we have a bathroom on the 2nd floor that has no windows. I always feel like I'm in prison. It's like this is what a prison sentence would be like.
It's like a box too.
It's just a box.
It's like a box, and it's weird in there.
Yeah,
and it's kind of dark.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a weird bathroom, right?
Yeah,
and it's got like a weird sound. To
Being a slasher movie.
Oh my God!
It's got that closet in there.
Speaking of slasher, not that that's that is an odd segue. I'm going to put this out there. Remember how I told you last week that my very dear friend from many years ago that I, got murdered?
Yep.
Well, I'm sort of going to call this out because on social media, it's being like sort of called out, but literally the Marion County, I'm going to call it out. I have no problem because it's obvious. The Marion County Sheriff's Department down in Florida in Dunellen has literally been lacking all transparency, no investigation to anyone's knowledge, no media, no public, anything, nothing. It's dead.
Really?
Literally dead as a doornail in the water. So I'm calling it out because people online are calling it out. I'm calling it out. The DA's office, nothing, not a peep, nothing, like just bearing it under the rug. I have some information because people are sharing it with me from things, but
is it more or less public now, like widespread?
Nothing has been, not one iota of even the existence of the murder.
So the principals are calling it out as opposed to general public.
I, as the general public of knowing the situation, I'm calling it out, and the family's calling it out, and people around there that know him are calling it out. But I'm just calling it out because what's going on down there? And apparently it's a theme for this county.
Yep.
And it's all over social media. And once I posted up something and other people did, it's like, oh yeah, that's like, this is a thing here.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a small town, whatever, but this is pretty significant that, I have the details, but I won't share. I do have details on what happened, but I'm trying to make them do their job. But it feels like I and other people know more of the details. And I'm not even I feel like I've sleuthed this to death, and literally.
Yeah.
And so anybody down there in Florida that might be listening that, might want to give a shout out to Marion County or follow them on Facebook and keep lighting up and highlighting this situation.
Just Florida being Florida.
Well, I mean, we did say that too. It's like, well, Florida, a Florida man, there's a show now. I think I might've mentioned that. But
I think so. Yeah.
It's called A Florida Man.
Yep.
But yeah, so this was a horrific situation. Obviously I wasn't there, but I do have some pretty backside details that are making it out to be, allegedly, but I'm going to call it out for what it is. So I won't say a lot more because but I'm feeling very, very bad for the family because they had the funeral last week for him. And I mean, just, 2.5 weeks and change, 3 weeks and change has gone by and literally not a peep.
Interesting.
Nothing. Zero.
No investigation, no interviews, no nothing.
The only thing that I know for sure is that the police department, the sheriff's department, which I think there's like 1.5 Barney Fifes in. Oh, did I say that outside my head, Bubble?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Apparently it's closed on the weekends. This is all hearsay. It's closed on the weekends, so I'm not sure what happens there. But also, they did apparently, allegedly, I love that word, allegedly, they got the phones from 3 of the individuals, one being my friend who was murdered, his wife, and another person. and took the phones and have given them back subsequently, except to obviously my dead friend. But that's, again, allegedly. Wow. With nothing hit the news, nothing hit papers, nothing, zero. Anyway, so I'm very, very disturbed by this. So, and I'm trying to figure it out with my friends to try to help them. But anyway.
So now you're a detective.
Yes. Well, kind of my whole friend group is like that. We're all like into, like, we do our job and then we go home and to relax. We watch like Snapped. Dateline ID, and which would, of course, I'm sure that the Barney Fife Sheriff's Department would say, like, maybe if you didn't watch so much, then you wouldn't criticize us. Well, you know what? Maybe if you did your job, there's that. So it's apparently my side gig with my friends that we're all like trying to figure this out. And one of my friends texted me this morning and said, because she gets up really early and she saw all the feed lines, and she goes, apparently the people that are investigating this, which are none, are the same people that haven't found Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Oh.
So I was like, oh yeah.
Same county, yeah.
No, well, maybe totally different states, but it's the concept of like, what are we doing?
Oh,
like the level of, are we doing anything? Are we like, how is this? I mean,
well, they have wild boars to run down, and
little old me up here in good old Massachusetts found out more information for the family in terms of actual tangible, like actual evidence, and gave it to them, and nothing came from the police department. And I found it out, and I don't even know the people that, like, people sought me out to give me information.
Yeah.
Crazy. Anyway.
What a world.
I know. It's so bizarre. Because I'm like sort of like two circle removal sides out of this, like, I mean, I'm in it, but I'm not in it. I just know obviously them, but I'm just peripheral to it. And people collaterally are giving me information that the police department should have had. And of course I've given it over to, but no response. Anyway, Marion County Sheriff's Department, Dunellen, Florida. Somebody, Pat Connor. I mean, I was going to say it's public, but it's not, because no one's talking about it. You can look it up and you can't find a thing. It's crazy. Right. Wow. So not even like nothing. I mean, you might see the obituary now, but I don't know. And I could say so many things, but I'm trying to hold my tongue on this. Anyway, on a separate note, I feel like I'm on the Today Show when they go from like something tragic to something really wonderful. Yeah. Happy birthday to my wonderful friend in Florida, a whole separate part of Florida, to my wonderful friend Candy. From her birthday was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Candy.
Happy birthday to Candy. And she's a listener, and she's also a friend, but she listens. So happy birthday, because I tried to call her yesterday multiple times, and she must have been partying it up because, it was her birthday.
Maybe she just didn't want to take your call.
Maybe she just doesn't want to talk to me. No, that's not true, because she texted me this morning and told me, but that was really nice, Lou. Really nice. Maybe she didn't want to take my call. Not
sarcasm,
true.
As you noted.
Oh yes, I know what your sarcasm.
We deal in sarcasm.
We do. That's our relationship.
Yeah,
I know.
It's my world.
I could have a whole show on what sarcasm is based in, but I won't, because then you'll get all verklempt.
No, I won't.
No, I won't.
I get issues.
You've got issues. Oh my God, we could have a show on that too.
I'm not unaware.
Oh my God. I know you're not. Okay. So what I thought I would talk about today, not thought, but what I planned on talking about today was, we haven't really talked about the S in the rise, right? So we've talked about the reset, which is part of all of it, right? It's all connected. And we've talked about integrating. We've talked about evolution, and I keep going back and doing little pieces on and expanding on each of them. But today I thought we'd talk about the stand up and the stand out part, because people have been asking about it, right? So every time people get on a roll with me and say, hey, what's this thing? Or what's that about? Like people that listen, come into session, or my students listen and they ask about it. So I was like, I will expand on this, because everyone has like sort of a different definition of what it means to stand up and stand out. So when you hear me say stand up and stand out, and you and I've had conversations about that, what do you think, Lou? Like, let's hear your like sort of terminology understanding of what that would mean to you.
Take responsibility.
Okay.
Stand up.
Okay. So that's one. So that would be one thing. So if we're doing it like growth and learning and changing, right? There's a tension, like a psychological tension there. So yes, that's part of it. So you could stand up for something. You could stand out. You could take
just for yourself, right? For your outcomes,
right. Yeah. You could, right. That's what I'm saying. Like something interpersonal. So there's a tension.
Too many people sit back and just let things happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Marion County Sheriff's.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
What? You're supposed to like back me up on this.
I'm behind you all the way.
Okay. So there's a tension of wanting to grow, learn, and stand out. And it can feel like you're being pulled in lots of different directions when you're doing that for your own growth and your own inner boundaries, so to speak. But when we're talking about this, we have to talk about growth, because it's really asking you for, like you just said, like taking accountability, responsibility for yourself. It's asking you to have some humility. Oh God, right? Asking you to have like your own personal humility, and then do some experimentation with your internal mindset. And standing out really seems to like demand a confidence and a clarity that a lot of people don't feel that they have, because that confidence and clarity of knowledge of their own internal growth, awareness, like you just said, is really hard to identify sometimes for people, because they lack the awareness, if we want to use that word. So the trick is realizing that the tension is there and not. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
What are you doing?
I'm working with a cough drop.
If anyone was watching my face, I'm like, what is it that you're doing? Okay. So the trick is, sorry, everybody. The trick is realizing, are you sick?
I am sick, yes.
Oh my God, I was close to you.
It's okay. I'm probably past shedding at this point.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for the warning. Anyway, so the trick is realizing that they're not like opposite pieces of information here in the brain. They're all the pieces of information that you need to have in your awareness are there to reinforce each other. So if you approach them the right way, they're going to work for you in the right way. This is bothering me. It's itching. I have a resting itch on my face. I'm sorry, everybody.
Oh no, I was close to you.
It's your fault. It's your fault, yeah. Right? So what I would say to people, like initially when you start thinking about like the trick to this, is that you have to start by dropping the idea that you need to stand out like in this like loud, flashy way for yourself. Like that's not what you have to do. You have to drop that. And because that's what a lot of people have been talking about with me in the past couple, like even since I started talking about Rise, they're like, that S is like this big, like I have to be this thing, this shiny object. And then you just said like, essentially internal responsibility and accountability. That's what it really is about. And so you have to drop that need to be flashy or to be, like it's some big thing, right? It's what it is making yourself noticeable to yourself.
Yep.
What an odd concept, right? Or what a bizarre concept, because people don't think of it that way. It's like stand out. It means outward, but no, it's actually for yourself. So
get off the sideline.
Right. And so it's what actually makes people noticeable over time in your consistency. Are you a consistently behaviorally changing person, right? And that's the stand up part. I keep hitting my mic. That's the stand up part, is that are you a consistent person in the point of view that you're trying to have for yourself that's like out in the world? So the external knows the behavior that you're showing for it, but the stand up or the stand out piece is what you're doing for yourself. And so when you're learning something new, you may either stay quiet about it, you might tell people about it. If you don't tell people, does that make you look inexperienced, or does that make you feel like maybe that's you having humility? But it's also about, something about what you really want to make sure that you're putting out in the world. Like I've talked about in last year and the year of you and some of this year's, do you want to put out in the world something that people are then going to see and follow and model, or they're going to sort of ding you on if they're watching and saying, oh, you're not being consistent. You're not doing the thing. You're not standing up. You're saying one thing and doing another. And that's what a lot of people do.
Yep.
Is that they'll say, I'm going to do this thing, or I am this thing, or I'm going to be this thing, or whatever. And then they start it. And then, we'll go back to the weight loss thing, right? I'm going to lose 30 pounds in January. And then January 14th, we've lost nothing. We've gained 5 pounds and we quit. Yeah. Right. So that's such a good example of the stand up and stand out. It's like, how do you be consistent for yourself in your accountability to be able to do it for you? And also getting past that piece of, and here's the humility, getting past the piece of, I'm not supposed to stand up. We're socially trained to not be boastful or boisterous or whatever, but yet we need to do some of that for ourselves, because we have to have, that's where our confidence comes from. And that doesn't mean you're a narcissist. That doesn't mean you're over the top. It means you have to have it within containment of your self-contained.
But it's not about presentation to others. Right. It's about internally, and right. that'll show.
Right. Yep.
It's by modeling and showing it.
Right.
It's not by presenting to other people.
Exactly. And I think if you're showing it, which is like sharing it by showing, like if you're doing and you're being consistent and you're doing, small little steps and baby steps as you're going, that actually is able to, it's sort of like a stepwise movie, if you're, so to speak. It's like you're watching this movie progress, because you're modeling that ideal I talked about a few weeks ago of that, you're figuring it out as you go, and your small insights and even your mistakes, you're naturally just being a forward moving trajectory, because it's obvious. If you have a stackable win, it's obvious to you. And then if you have a mistake, it's obvious to you. You have to self-correct. Might be obvious to other people, but over time, these little things, good, bad, and indifferent, if you're staying on that stand up, stand out format, you're going to inevitably keep growing and moving forward and having change and learning, and again, growing. So it's that learn, grow, change, or grow, learn, change, because it's a behavioral pattern for you internally that happens, and you're showing your process versus progress, right? Because that is what is the stand up and stand out.
Because it's not about the end results as much as it is just acting accordingly every day. Because again, it's not linear. You have good days and you have bad days.
Right. Well, or you have good moments and not so good moments, right? Yep. Because sometimes we can just measure them in moments of time. And sometimes, and this is one of the things that gets people sometimes very frustrated, kind of like about when people say something needs to be resolved or fixed. Sometimes it's just in the process, because some things can't be fully resolved in the way that we would expect, right? If our expectation is that it has like an endpoint, when we're rising to our occasion every day, when we're rising to our moments, when we're rising to be different and meet our ideals and our expectations, every day is not an outcome, finish, goal, process, endpoint.
Right.
It's a constant movement of moving forward. So, sometimes you can check box something that's complete, but that's just a tick mark in the process, instead of it looking like, okay, I'm done. Because last week in class, I was talking about Erik Erikson and the theory of development, psychosocial development. And there's a point in each of those stages and phases, or whatever you want to call them, he called them stages, that you're always moving forward. And if you become stagnant, then you have sort of an identity loss, because then what's defining you? What's really making you, you? And so if you get to a point in your life, and it's not usually young, like little kids and like adolescents, it's usually people from 20 something on, when they're into like themselves and creating their lives and community and friends and relationships and all these things. It's like, when does someone stop doing purposeful things? They don't, because this is part of the development of self. And the stand up and the stand out is that you're always working on not being stagnant. And so that, the book, The Purpose Driven Life, anything by, I just lost his name in my head. It just came in and went out. Navy SEAL, David Goggins. Thank you. You didn't give it to me. It just came to me by my, spirit guides.
I didn't take the thank you.
I know, but I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah.
in my head, it does. If you're looking at like powerful stand up, stand out kind of examples, it comes from people who find these purposeful daily small things that say, stand up for you. And that doesn't mean go out and be, like an activist. It means stand up for yourself as an activist for yourself. Like be a positive role model to yourself of like, all I have to do is make sure that I get up today and I make 5 minutes of that exercise routine, or I make the right food choice, or I make sure I make that phone call today, or I do that one. Like that's all it could be for someone is that. Then on a grander scale, grander meaning a little bit more, it could be just, spring cleaning. It could be that you are preparing to, put clothes out on Poshmark. I mean, whatever it is, right? It's about you taking control of something in your life that you want to make sure that you're doing so that you feel like you're rising to your day.
I think too often we get caught in fixing reality as opposed to accepting it and not understanding that where you are right now is the result of choices you made to this point.
But people don't want to.
And the only way to fix it,
like that though.
Yeah, but the only way to fix it is the choices you make going forward.
Right.
You can't change reality of the day. I can't. There's so much stuff we can't quote unquote fix. You just do better going forward.
Right, but I
get to a better position.
So I think that concept of you can't fix reality or you can't change reality, right? And is a very difficult concept for people psychologically, because when people hear that, they either go, yeah, and then they get it. And then, I mean, most people get it, but they don't like that because then it goes back to, I have to have accountability and responsibility for my own driver's wheel. And I have to really then take charge. And it's so much easier for people. Sometimes they think it is. They think it's so much easier to just kind of bury their head in the sand, lack the awareness, so to speak, and just run from it and say, oh, that's too hard. Or when people in my practice, not all, but I have a particular population of people in my practice that has a strong reaction initially to you have to take responsibility and accountability for your choices, and that's a choice, because when you put it out that it's a choice, they get mad.
Yep.
It's like, how dare I even suggest that I made that choice? I'm like,
no, I'm a victim.
But you did. Yeah. That's a byproduct of a multiple set of choices or one choice. I mean, I work with couples a lot, and I'll pick on husbands because often it's the husband in my experience of this whole, they'll say things like, the wife will say, I don't want to be here in this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I want you, I don't, get out kind of thing. And the husband will be like, how dare you, like, you want to get rid of me? I take out the garbage and I clean the floor, whatever. And I say, we're at a greater level of like, you've made choices here. Like there's usually a bigger story behind it. Like you've made choices to be in this situation that you're in. She's not kicking you out, or he's not kicking you out or kicking you to the curb. You have chosen to get out of the relationship by doing behaviors that made you in that situation, because that's what you did. She's responding, or he's responding to you for your choices that you've made.
Yep.
And that's such a, and people do not, people in addiction, particularly, that's my brain went right to a lot of people I work with in addiction. People in addiction who, even if they're not actively using something, but they still have the behavior, they will act like that. They will be like, how dare you do that to me? It's like, no, you did this to yourself. You put yourself, and they don't like taking responsibility because they were, by and large, there's so many times that you go back in a person's history and you realize that, I mean, I have working with a 70-year-old right now that is, his whole childhood is like constantly in his day, because he is a byproduct of being a victim of like not taking responsibility for the fact that you're a byproduct of the fact that what your childhood was like, how it's been, and now you're this age and you're still saying it's not me, it's them.
You've had 50 years to resolve it.
Right. And to his credit, but he's really struggles with that. I made choices, but it's not my fault. But yet, no, it's not your fault per se, but you're aware that you could do something different yet, and you know what to do with it, but you don't do it. Quickly, Good morning, B, and miss seeing you. And thank you for sending me love, sending it back. And Robin, and then she says, choose to help them come along. Yes. Well, it would be great if people chose to help people come along and chose to help themselves go along and not sabotage themselves or others, right? Yes, help them come along for the ride with you. Yes, that would be great. And people often will come along with the ride. But as you know, in rising, I always say there's one of three things that happen. And it's in the order of people will come along for the ride with you, very rarely as the statistical probability, right? They will sometimes, but not fully or not at all.
Right.
The second one is they'll stay the same while you grow and change. And most often and most common is they
pull you back in.
They pull you back in and they regress, right? Or they try to get you to regress back in with them. So yes, it would be wonderful to choose to help them, but it's not your responsibility to get someone else to make choices that would be better. It's your responsibility because you can't change someone else, but you can change yourself.
Right.
And that's where it is in the standing up for yourself. It's like, I can't, if you're going to do those things, those behaviors or those choices, and they don't align with my choices, as long, I mean, it could, if they're small or whatever, I mean, certain people, friendships, relationships, whatever, like things don't always align. But if they're big things and it can make or break something and it's really holding you back, you have to be able to look at those people in your inner soul and be able to say, I'm going to move forward despite their choices, because their choices have gotten in my way.
That's the exact message they don't want to hear.
Right.
You mean you're better than me?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And you get, or they, and I'm going to use some potty mouth here for a second, because this is a common thing of the answers back to that I hear a lot are like, oh, that's right, I'm just a piece of shit. Yeah. Nobody said that, but why did you say that? Because nobody said that. Nobody said that you were a piece of shit. But if you're feeling like that you are, maybe you should look at that.
Yeah.
If that's your response, you see that a lot in avoidant dismissive relationships in people. Like if you have an avoidant dismissive attached person, which means that they have unresolved mommy and daddy issues, to be, really generic about it. But if they're in a relationship or a friendship or even in a work environment where they're avoidant and dismissive of you, like you say, you bring up a problem and they either are victims or they turn it on you, even your boss, whatever, your boss, your narcissistic boss, whatever it is, right? Yep. The avoidant dismissive person will be like, oh, that's right, I can't do anything right. It's always because, I've done something, it's this victim mentality, and it's not, that person doesn't stand up and stand out. They just sit in their shit. So there's my potty mouth for the day, because it's the best way to do it. Robin saying, very tough, but maybe more not responsible, but to live better or the way we want. Constant pivots on both sides. Well, yeah, if you can get someone to pivot with you, if you can get someone that sees your vision and that you align with visions, that's great. I mean, that's the ultimate thing. If you're you find your tribe and your tribe pivots with you, and that's yes. And so you get that. And that's,
but you're not responsible for that.
You're not responsible for that, right? And then she says, slows rise, but on end not, but in, I would think in end not alone, and compromise so that both can rise. Yes, I mean, so that would be a wonderful ultimate way of doing it. If that, but unfortunately, the real life experience that I can speak to is that those kinds of things are not as common as the ones that are like the crabs in the bucket.
Well, think about your profession and how much resistance you get, even though people are coming to you for help. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're self-aware enough to come for help, but they still get resistance to the principle. Imagine someone who's not even self-aware enough to know they need the help.
Right, exactly.
It's going to be major resistance.
Right, and for example, like,
and if you want to take on a task, that's fine, but it's not your responsibility. Well, we spend too much time trying to change other people.
Well, and I think, and I'm, so here's the gender divide, right? A lot of times
I'm in radical acceptance today.
That's awesome. I love that, because women are socialized to do this thing that you just, like in what Robin's talking about. We are as females, just as a gender, without getting to all the other pieces of gender, but gender role as female, right? We are just still indoctrinated in this day and age into, we are supposed to nurture and fix and help people come along with us. And that actually gets in our way a lot. That gets in the way of people in general, but in particular, because we're talking about like relationships, but women tend to, do that whole, I'm responsible to have, people come along with me and have to rise, at that rate. And you see people get sabotaged in their careers. You see people, both men and women, you see people get sabotaged in their aspirations and their dreams and held back because of that. It's your responsibility to stand up and set your boundary for yourself of what you will and won't allow, and what choices you make and what choices you will allow into your life to be influential on you. And that is a very different concept than what we are all socialized into, because we're socialized into the expectation that we're supposed to help people change. Yes, of course. We can lay groundwork, just like you said, in my profession, I lay groundwork for people to change. That does not mean they're going to. And I can't ride my ego or my integrity or my professional career on the fact that someone's going to take my advice.
You can deliver the lumber, but they got to put it together.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's such an important point, because oftentimes there's a misconception about therapy, for instance, that if someone comes to us, that we're supposed to be, all knowing, perfectly able to diagnose.
The sorcerers.
Like there's this, right? And I think that the metaphor of like the lumber, I can lay the lumber, I actually can maybe lay some of the flooring. But if you don't, put it up together yourself, I mean, I have someone, that was like, I came and he kept asking me, like, did you understand, like, this is what was going on? And I kept saying, I understand it, but I don't agree with he kept diagnosing himself. People do that all the time. Right. Yep. And it just didn't fit the diagnostic criteria. So sometimes that takes a while, because there's so many overlaps of criteria. And then he gets upset because he went and figured it out and was happy that he figured it out, what he feels that he had. And I was like, I think that matches. And I agreed with him, and then got mad at me 2 weeks later to tell me, like, why didn't you figure it out? Well, we've been working on figuring it out. Like, it's not, psychology isn't like, I can take an x-ray and be like, you have a fractured brain. That's not how this works. Right. So, and I'm always cautious to just label someone with something, which my field is notorious for doing, of that's bipolar, that's depression, that's anxiety, it's like, well, there's a lot of crossover, especially in, like, if you have someone that has like PTSD, emotional neglect, attachment issues, ADHD, and anxiety, and then they look bipolar. Whoa, there's a lot of crossover, and you just don't go, well, then you're all those things, which a lot of my colleagues would do, and then they would treat it as that. That's not in my line of how I do things, good care, because that's not actually helping someone stand up or stand out. That's just labeling it, giving them all these things. And then there's a double-edged sword to that. Like the person I was saying about, like, that gets upset because they figured out an aha moment for themselves, and then were upset that I didn't figure it out per se. But I help lay the lumber, right? But
your job is to lead them there.
Right. Exactly.
Not necessarily figure it out.
Right.
But I mean, you figure it out, that's how you lead them in many cases, but not always.
Right. And so it's important to realize that it's your job.
By the way, he's doing a session with himself 24/7.
Right.
Which makes it easier for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's for anybody, right? And this is why the stand out piece is so important to doing your own work, because those are your choices. Those are your boundaries. Those are your research pieces. Those are your daily musings in your head. Because when you're with a person for 45 minutes a week or an hour a week, and you've got the rest, you've got to take those pieces of lumber and go, okay, well, she or he says those aren't things that would match, so I got to figure it out. Yep. Good job figuring it out, because we ruled out other things. Like, but people want to still externalize and be upset, and
accept what's going on. Understand you can't control other people.
Well,
control what you can control. Do your job, as Bill would say.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Before he lost his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it seems like the coaching team is always anyway. So the very
It's a tough business.
I know. So there's a very basic concept in this, in psychology in general. And by the way, Robin, you made some very good points.
Yep.
That was really good. Thank you for sharing that. Please keep commenting. But there's a concept in psychology that kind of wraps around this, and I've talked about this in other shows, but the growth mindset. And all these little concepts that we're kind of bouncing in and out and using anecdotal stuff about different things and different people. But the growth mindset is not something we commonly get socialized into. We as a society, as a community of our social norms, we are very much a closed mindset. In it's to culture, the culture of you, not culture just like as in like, are you religiously cultured, or are you racially cultured, or it's about the culture of your environment, of who's influencing you and what is influencing you in the environment. And the growth mindset comes from that. Like, are you, it can be dependent on the area of the country you're living in. It could be resource access to like knowledge and people who have understanding of the world to give you more understanding, to give you perspective. Like, so it, a lot of that is based on that. So growth mindset, basically the idea that your abilities can be developed through effort and learning. And then that gives you that purpose-driven life, right? Because the effort and learning pays off. And the more you do more, learning, your effort won't have to be as difficult because you're not like creating, a new wheel. It's like you're finding things in, oh, that's there. That's something I've searched out. I have a resource for it to grow more. If you have that open-mindedness to be like, okay, there's other thoughts. That's why I like talking about triangulating, which I think there should be different words, because you have to have like 10 or 15 data points to have a growth mindset. Closed mindset is like that linear, like I'm on that track and this is the way it is. And if I fail, it's terrible. If I succeed, it's great. And that's it, all or nothing. When you're in a growth mindset to really stand up for yourself and rise to your occasion and meet your moment, you have to have so many points of data so that you are able to, Robin's point, pivot. You have to have pivot points, and there's adaptability, there's flexibility in that, and there's the willingness to see other ways or be other ways, or to know that the staircase might have a reroute to it. Right?
Well, it's funny. We laugh all the time about some people who've never played a sport,
right?
And it shows.
Yes.
And these are lessons you learn in sports, because it's not about having an accomplishment. It's about getting better at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Right. And the way I look at
I'm going to be better at that tomorrow. I learned this today, so I'm going to be better at that tomorrow.
And yes, and I think that the way I look at that in terms of like standing up for that for yourself is like you have to have and this is what sports are good for, right? Is they're so good for so many things, but it's daily strategies. It's like if we could take and add in another S to our S's, I have the 4 S's, but if we could add in like be a strategizer, like strategic movements through life are important. But if your strategy is to go linear and that you're only on one path, and you can't diverge from that, or you can't accept that it's going to move and your purpose is going to move and your goals might change, that's going to get you stuck. And that's why people get so, they give up so easily on their rise moments, because it didn't go the way they expected. It didn't go the way they wanted it to, because they think in one way only. And that's just not how it goes. I think I when I was thinking about this from last week to this week, and especially this week from, I guess, Monday on, because a couple of things came up in practice about this. And I was like, you have to literally be pivoting all the time, because you pivot when you drive, you pivot when you're in the grocery store, you pivot when you're on the phone, you pivot everything. And pivoting,
it's all course correction. Life is course correction.
Pivoting is choice.
Yeah.
Pivoting is constantly making choices that are going to help you traverse your road in the best way possible, moment to moment, daily, whatever you want to call it. That's why I say that the worst question in the world in an interview is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's the worst question in the world, because I don't want people to answer that. I don't want to ask that question, because I don't want them to tell me, because when they tell me that they see themselves and they give me this stack answer, I'm like, in my head, I'm doing this whole thing of like, bullshit, because that's probably not going to happen, because you're going to have something happen in a year. You're going to get married. You're going to have a baby. You're going to want to move. You hate the job. Like, you decide that this isn't for you, like whatever it is. How about, like, where do you see yourself in a month? What do you want in a month? How do you, like, that would be a great question.
Yeah.
Just give me, like, what do you, and that's what I ask clients. And you can ask probably any of my clients. One of the very first things I say to them when I first meet them is, don't tell me what you want long term. Tell me what you want to do and see growth in the next month. And people always are flustered by that that question. But it's every patient gets that question from me. Every student, everybody in my whatever gets that question of, what do you want to do in the next 2 weeks? Or I'll give them, I only want you to work on what we're doing in the next 2 weeks. And you can see initially it's the frustration, because the mindset is not growth. The mindset is, oh my God, we're not working on the big goal, which is, I want to feel better.
Right.
But we can't feel better, this big feel better, if we don't do this little feel better. We have to do day by day by day, right? I'm sorry, I just got sidetracked. So Robin said, I don't know what that little thing is in the beginning, that little emoji, but I would say linear. Wow, took a bit to understand how insignificant it is on a rise.
Clarify, Robin.
Yeah, I was going to say elaborate, Robin. I'm not sure what you're saying. So anyway, but so that growth mindset is so important to that every single day is what counts.
Right.
And people get so caught up with
any incremental gains.
I want $1 million.
Right.
I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to feel no anxiety. And my answer to feel no anxiety, when people say, I don't want to have anxiety anymore, I don't laugh. But in my head bubble, it's a giggle, because yes, that's true. I'll come back to that. I giggle in my head not because I'm making fun of, because it's such a common thing of, like, people want instant gratification to end the problem. And it's like, first of all, anxiety, if you have it, it never goes away. We put it at bay. That's my motto, right? It doesn't just, if you're an anxious person, we can get it down to almost nothing, but it will always be there because it will be your default.
Well, think about that process where you're sitting there and you go, I want to end my anxiety.
Right.
And you're at the beginning of the process and you have this anxiety controlling you. You have no idea how to end your anxiety. So how can you make a plan at that point?
Exactly.
You just got to be open to making a first step.
Right.
And continuing to course correct along the way.
It's the pivot in the moment, and you have to have the tools. And a lot of times,
if you have to lose 30 pounds, you have no idea how to use 30 pounds when you start.
Right.
Because obviously you need to lose the 30 pounds.
Right. Exactly.
Learn as you go.
And that's the whole point of how to stand up and stand out for yourself. That's how you rise to your moment and meet your moment, is being able to say, okay, today I'm going to do this to better my life. Who am I going to be today to be my best person? That's why I think a week or two ago, I talked about set in your mind what your ideal of who you are. Remember, I talked about not who you want to be that's like someone else necessarily. You can use a role model, certainly, but who do you want to be at the end of today? How does your day look at the end of the day? How do you want to feel today about you? Stop putting it out into the world of how I failed or came up short because I didn't end up doing like the other person, or, or something like that. But so now I understand. So Robin just said, don't set a time frame or end goal.
Yep.
Correct. And then she says, pivots. Yes. Life is pivot every single day. Yep. And if you pivot and you're able to pivot and you're able to adjust yourself, not other people, around things, and you set your mind to, I'm going to make sure I stay in my lane and take care of my stuff despite that person's choices and that person's way of being, and you will set your boundaries to what you need for you, you're going to have a purpose-driven life, because you're going to have that success, because the end goals come. When I work with athletes, they'll come in and they say, I want to be able to pitch better. I want to be able to pitch faster.
Right.
I say, okay, we're not okay. Or they'll say, I want to pitch 100 miles an hour. Right. Okay. Yeah. I say, we're not working on 100 miles an hour. What we're doing is we're going to go back to the semantic basics of how do we do that?
Yeah.
And we're not worried about the outcome goal. If we do the step by step, we're going to get better. I have a runner that I've been working with for about 5 years, a young runner. And in the beginning, he was so wed to the outcome goal of the time. Now he's like, his mom always says to me, like, I can't believe the change, because if he didn't make the time, he'd be like basically a young kid, right? Initially, he's a teenager now, but he'd be in tears, which is why he ended up in my office, because she's like, he's so mentally stressed by this, right? Because if he doesn't hit the time, and he's a Olympic level kind of elite runner at this juncture. He was when he was younger too, like little, and we could see it coming. But I'm like, you're not going to get to that level you want to if you keep focusing on the outcome goal. This is like in life. If you're focused on the outcome goal, then you're missing all the stuff in between.
You're sabotaging yourself.
And so if we're focused on the time, or we're focused on, I see this in relationships all the time. Someone will be like, I've been with this person for 2 years and they haven't asked me to marry them. I'm like, are you happy? Well, yeah. Well, are you enjoying life? Yeah. Or do you like, it's that end goal of like what it's supposed, we have an expectation. We're supposed to run a 4-minute mile. We have an expectation that when we're 28, we're supposed to have a marriage and babies. Like there's all this stuff. Get it out of your head and live on your own terms. Live for your purpose, and you're standing up for you, who you want to be, not what others or you think others want, or you fall in line with someone else's alignment of what they want for you. You got to do your thing. You've got to be there for yourself. Growth mindset for yourself. You can't have your growth mindset be for everybody else. It has to be your own.
You also have to be open to opportunity, because often when people plan for the major goal, they put blinders on.
Right.
And they're not open to other opportunities. As you go along and as you learn more and as you experience more, other opportunities present themselves to you to change course, to pivot, and you don't want to see them because it's not part of the plan. Okay, opportunity isn't always part of the plan.
Right.
Learn to recognize opportunity.
And when you're on the linear path, opportunities fly by you and you miss them because you're not paying any attention to it. And when people embody the concept of what I'm talking about today, and like to your point, when people embody that, they don't just improve faster. It's like it's so amazing. They also stand out more, like to themselves, like, because you can feel like the confidence rises in them, right? When that happens, and they don't be linear and they do the thing like you just said and what we've been talking about, they improve faster, but they stand out because they're visibly, behaviorally, like their actions in the world are evolving, and it's obvious to themselves and others. It's like, because you embody the pivot.
Yep.
Right. So maybe that's the mantra of today's show, is like, embody the pivot. Make sure that you're pivoting so that your trajectory is on point for yourself the best possible way, and not on the outcome. And trying to get better, as a person or whatever you're doing is invisible. Like, you're working on becoming excellent at X, or you're working on doing this thing and making this thing happen. Or here's what I'm going to do this week. And you make it concrete for yourself with the willingness to do those pivots, man, you're going to be so quick on improvements, because it's just, they're going to roll over. It's like a rolling ball.
Well, in any process, you're getting smarter as you go. You make better decisions.
Right. Exactly.
You see opportunities you didn't see before. And everyone seems to think that deviating from the plan is a failure, and it's not.
And it's not. Nope. No, it's the opening of another door usually.
Yep.
Now I've got something in my eye. I'm having a mess today.
And again, on day one, you don't know how to lose 30 pounds.
No.
2 months in, you know more.
Well, yeah.
So you make a better plan.
If you stick to a plan and you pivot when
this is working, this isn't.
Right. Like if you have on day 5 of your lifestyle change, if you have a piece of carrot cake, your pivot is being able to say, I had carrot cake, and so now I either have to make sure that I don't have the next 3 meals be terrible, or I have to make sure I don't do that, and I need to, go for a walk for 25 minutes. Like, pivot instead of being like, oh, I had a piece of carrot cake, forget it, and then give up. Because that's not pivoting, that's giving up. That's just being like, oh, my linear path just got screwed up, I'm done.
Exactly.
Like, get off that path. That path isn't life. That's not real life. Paths are not linear.
And the plan that I'm not going to eat carrot cake for the next 3 months never works.
No, and that's why I say deprivation is and starvation
Never works.
Never works, because
deprivation doesn't work.
No, because it makes you want it more.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that so to that point, the more specific that you are about what you're building or changing, the easier it is for yourself to recognize your progress. So when you're specific to the moment, I keep saying, build your moment, right? Be specific, because then you recognize it, because you're not worried about that you ran the 4-minute mile. What happened along the way? If you're running a mile, there's a lot of scenery on the way to stop and smell and see and listen to and all those things. You've got to build that moment.
We keep going back to weight loss and financial success or financial changes, because I think they're great ways to learn these skills.
Yes.
I think these are great skill builders.
Yes.
And the thing is with weight loss is that you do something and you lose 10 pounds immediately. If you're 30 pounds overweight,
right.
That's relatively easy.
Right.
Exactly. It gets tougher after that.
Right. Because
you have to adapt to that difference.
You have to pivot. You have to pivot, because, people are like, why is it so easy? Great example. Why is it so easy for men to lose weight? Well, metabolism is different. It's usually easy for people, to lose like 10 pounds. Like you said, like if a person's 100 pounds overweight, that first 10 or 20 or 30 pounds is super easy for most people, whether you're man or woman. But
if you keep doing that, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
You got to adapt.
Right. So, and I think when you focus your energy on a pivot, right, and just the thought of pivoting instead of being scattered, you're going to have more success in your daily. Right. So because you're focusing about, so you're focusing on your standout as being about not doing everything and doing it all and being like the end all be all. You're not focusing it on being everything. It's about choosing what you won't do.
Yeah.
Very different than I'm choosing what I will do. It's you're choosing what you won't do. That's what you won't sacrifice your integrity for, what you won't give up on, what you're willing to choose to change, what you're willing to pivot on. Such a big clarity maker for yourself, because that's far more important than the effort you're putting into something. It's God, I've had this conversation with people this week too about like, just because you put in more effort doesn't make the outcome happen.
Right.
Right. And people think the harder I work, the more I'm going to be recognized. The harder I work, the more it's going to come. Nope. It's about being really specific about what you won't do. I'm not going to eat like crap today.
Doing the same thing wrong over and over again is not going to make you better.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to expect that you're going to have bigger stackable wins more of the time if you're really focused on pivoting in your moments and being accepting of that and not worrying about what other people are doing or if they're coming along with you.
Right.
And acknowledging that it's not your job to get other people to change. And if people aren't changing and they're in your way, as I had a conversation with a client last week and we were sort of laughing. She and I have known each other a long time. And we were like, well, we'll just run them over, metaphorically speaking, right? Because they're in your way. Like you don't really run them over, obviously, but you're running them over with, if they're in your way and they keep stepping in front of you, you have to run past them. You have to run around them. You have to pivot because they're in your way. You're not going to stand there and like let them block you. You just, well, top of the hour, we're talking about like someone getting murdered. We're not talking about that here. We're just talking about, okay.
And technical notes.
Oh, technical notes from Rob. Thanks, Robin, for letting us know. So we're not actually running people over. Metaphorically, we're trying to run past people that are in our way, or we're getting rid of them. Not getting rid of them, but we're just getting them out of our lives, or we're putting them off to the side because they're in our way. And that's a pivot.
Well, adjusting their role in your life. Because I think, again, back to acceptance.
Right.
A lot of people who they are and they have their attitudes towards you the way they do.
Right.
Accept it.
Right.
Just go anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't let it derail you.
Right. I say this to people all the time. Don't let them make you feel guilty for you making choices that are going to better your life.
Right.
Because people do that to you all the time. They're like, oh, well, you're going to go do that without me. Like, yeah, because you don't want to do that. And I don't want to do that. And so I keep doing for you, but you don't do for me. So why would I do that? Just saying.
Yep.
Oh. Okay, so she has a question. So Robin has a question. See, this is where I have a question. If the whole idea is to become aware or to rise and be happy and be a better person, if you have to work hard on another person, it's not changing them. It's just like what the therapist might do. It's giving them guidance, whether they accept it. That's different. See you on Spotify, Dr. Kaylin. Okay. Yes. Right. Exactly. Very good summary of that. Is like, right. You're just laying the foundation. But you can't lay foundation like a therapist or a doctor like me or in any field that's like helping. We're going to lay foundation. We're going to give foundational pieces, but that doesn't mean we can change you or figure it out for you. You have to, sometimes we can help you get to an aha moment. We can help our loved ones get to aha moments, but it's still at the end of the day, not our job, unless they're little kids, to fix or change them.
Okay. My first law of parenting.
Yes.
Kids don't listen to what you say, but they sure as hell watch what you do.
Exactly.
This is the way you lay it out for people.
That's right.
Just do what you do.
Right.
You can't
exactly.
talk them into it.
Exactly.
Just model it.
Right. Exactly. And if you are going to, a life coach or a person in my field or human services looking for, like spiritual guidance or whatever it is, it's still at the end of the day your responsibility to make pivot moments and pivotal moments in your mind and your moments, because you're not with those people that are helping you 24/7. You're with them for a hot second during the week, right, or every 2 weeks, and it's your job to take some of that stuff and go with it. And if you don't,
but if you're going to take on the responsibility of helping, quote unquote, helping other people,
right,
you can't do it by lecturing them.
Exactly.
The best you can do is model for them.
And you can't do it by figuring it out for them, because
because that doesn't work.
I can tell you how many times in 31 years of doing this, and then add in my lifetime experience of, if I tell someone exactly the plan and they don't do it, and how many times they've come back and be like, that doesn't work. I'm going to lay out the same
It didn't work the first time you tried it?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And I'm going to lay out the same plan. I might pivot it a little, but the problem with that is oftentimes people will come back and still do like, I knew you were going to say that. I knew that wasn't going to work. Like, you're not pivoting. So then you have to pivot. But
what in life works 1,000% of the time, other than physics?
Exactly. Well, right.
Yeah.
And 1,000% of the time, it takes 1,000 tries sometimes, or 10,000 tries for something to work, because, you walk into the woods, this is a common thing. You walk into the woods for 45 years, for instance, or 30 years, yep, or 20 years. It sure as heck doesn't take one try to get out, because usually you haven't breadcrumbed yourself, yep, right?
Yep.
It doesn't. And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, because then people are like, what do you mean it's going to take me that long to get out? I'm like, no, but if you do what you've been doing, you're going to be right where you were.
You built the problem over 35 years.
Right.
It's not going to take you.
You expect it to be done in 8 weeks or 6 sessions?
Between sessions, yeah.
No, right. I just told someone last week it's probably going to take a couple of years just to kind of break out of some of the patterns that the person had. And they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, oh, well, and that's with work. I'm like, that's with diligence on your part to like do that. That's why people will say, why do people stay in therapy so long? Because people don't do the work. They do it, but it's a long undoing of a pattern.
And then on top of that, 6 years into your path of getting out of it, you have a bad day. It happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I'll put this up.
Sure. Yeah. Robin just said, I'm not necessarily saying change them or put them on the path awareness. Okay. I'm saying that if I have myself and becoming aware, why would I not try to share that? Share that same tool that I'm being shown to someone that I really care about. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. And again, yes, ultimately it's up to them to decide, but do not introduce it into just, again, not run over them, but go back to ship sailing in the night. Okay. If I keep going and the other ship stops or goes off, I'm circling back. Okay. Yeah. So absolutely. Absolutely share it. You should share all of your knowledge when you're moving and shaking and changing and hustling and standing up and standing out and rising and all those things. But if someone's not in the same alignment with you, you have to recognize that and realign your relationship.
Here's what I'll say to Robin's point. I did a lot of work on this type of stuff, yep, in a lot of different ways, including therapy, yep, things like that. Heard all these principles come in different terminology and all different modalities. And it worked. It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. And then one day, because of where I was and the way it was said, it clicked. That's the way it works. What clicked for you doesn't necessarily click for someone else, especially that day. It could click next week.
Right.
But in that moment, it's not going to click.
Well, it's also, and I think to the point of, when you're talking about other people, like if you're trying to influence other people, like if Robin's doing her work and she has these things and she's moving forward and then she's trying to help other people, she has to just keep moving forward. And if it clicks, that's just like in therapy. If it clicks for someone and they move, great. If it doesn't, you can only do so much, right? So
because there's so many factors involved,
right?
There has to be this right combination of alignment that it lands for them.
Exactly.
I laugh because it was a secret for me.
Yeah,
now I laugh at it, but it's just the way it was at that particular time and the way it landed.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, oh. And then all of a sudden, everything else starts to make more sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you never know what the aha moment's going to be for someone. And some people don't have aha moments.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, they wait for. She's agreeing. Sometimes people wait for the aha moments to happen for them instead of creating them for themselves because they don't do the work.
Yep.
And that's a big piece of the rise. Is you can't rise if you expect someone else to do it for you, or people.
Oh, I did 1,000 different things. So.
Right. And people come all the time and just look at me like for the answer. And I'll say, I've given you how, but you have to do it. And then that's like you see the shoulder drop, like, oh, that's so much work. I'm like, you worked hard to get where you are right now.
Yep.
Right. It's kind of like when someone in addiction will look at me and say, but I can't do that because, or they'll be like, copay. Here's a prime example. Person who has an addiction issue, who's usually spent a lot of money on feeding their addiction, for instance, will be like, how am I going to pay for the copay? But meanwhile, they just bought $100 worth of cigarettes, right?
Yep.
I'll say, if you can pay for $100 worth of cigarettes and this is important to you, you'll pay your copay. Right? It's like, it's that pivotal mind. It's like, but they want what they want, how they want it, but they don't want to do the work for it. Well, part of the work is that you have to pay the provider that it's practical example, but it's just the same thing. You can't, nothing comes easy and nothing comes free.
No,
you have to pivot and work at it, and people's issues in life came at them because they worked at it. And
it can't be a session every other week. It's got to be a day-to-day process.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of like if you go to your personal trainer once a week and then you only see that you're only doing that once a week and then you don't do anything in between. How do you expect that it's going to work? Same thing. You've come into my office once a week and you don't do any work in between. And I tell you the things that are the skills to do something. And you come in every week and say it doesn't work, or you're making me figure it out on my own. I'm like, no, you have to take what I've given you and you do have to figure stuff out. Like that's how you do it.
That's what I talked about last week. You face media because that's not the way we've been taught.
Right.
Therapy works.
Right.
It's an aha moment.
Right.
You go in once a week and like a light goes off and that's not the way it works.
And it's supposed to be the therapist's job to fix it. And that's not how this works. I always tell clients it's collaborative. It's in my contract when I have people sign up. I talk about collaboration all the time. And life is collaboration. And you want to find people in alignment. Talk about rising, right? When you're rising and you have your stand up, stand out, like stay in your moment vibes, it's about collaborating with yourself first, relation to self, and then with others. And so that helps people. And to Robin's point, that's that's how you get people to move along with you, is you find people that will do that with you.
Yep.
That will collaborate, be partners, and not hold you back. Just a simple point. So anyway, this was great. Robin, thank you so much for bringing some good stuff to the show. And sorry, there were some technical difficulties and that we were choppy. So apparently if you go over to Spotify or wherever she went to, it was not as choppy today. I'm sure Facebook was probably having some glitchy thing today.
Entirely possible. We're on YouTube and Facebook and
so if
be on Spotify this afternoon.
Right. So if you're on, so if you go over to YouTube, it was fine, she said. So
okay.
That's what she said. So, okay. So
Facebook having issues?
Yeah, I know, right?
Really?
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Who knew?
I know, right? So everybody, next week we will be off. So I will run an old show. I will figure out which one with Lou and we will post it up. So something that would align with the rise moment. We'll figure it out. Maybe, something, I'll figure it out.
Maybe the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The first Rise
maybe,
episode.
Maybe going back to the beginning, a little recap. So, but we will not be here next week. But the following week we will. So have a wonderful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. If you don't have children and you take care of someone in your life, you're still a mom. And if you have fur babies, you're still a mom. And if you take care of yourself, you're still a mom to yourself. So good for you. And happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Have a wonderful week.